Well, hello, welcome to the new video, and this is the brand new facelifted Renault Clio. So now what they've done is they changed the design completely, the front and rear. So now in the front we have a new logo of the Renault, which is pretty cool, it looks very good. But what most importantly, we have new lights. Particularly this lower part has a brand new signature. Instead of the C that it had before, now it looks like half of the diamond, half of this. So yeah, and it looks very luxurious actually, this car, when you look at it, and it still remains having this very compact design compared maybe to other small cars that look a lot bigger than actually the Renault Clio. Now what we also have are brand new wheels. These are 17-inch wheels. They have a very cool design, but now they are a little bit dirty because it's winter. And they have a tire of 205/45 R17, so really wide enough tire to give you a good grip. Now from the side, the car is mostly unchanged, it has to be said. So yeah, let's have a look into the rear, where we have also new rear lights. They look like they are much brighter than before, yeah, they just look like tuning, a little bit more cooler, a little bit different. And also before there wasn't this plastic element which is there now, and it gives it sort of a wider stance, wider stance, so it looks more sporty and a little bit wider, the rear quarter of a car, only because of this. Yeah, but otherwise it's unchanged. The boot you also still open from under the bumper, and you have a really great boot in the class, 390 liters in capacity, so that's really cool. And also let's have a look into the back, where I have to say, in terms of space it could be better. So my knees are pushing into the seat, yeah, and also for the head it's just about right, the room. And in terms of comfort, well, there isn't much to talk about because you don't even have the air conditioning vents here, so that's a little bit sad. Hey doggo. Yeah, but it's a small car, so you actually don't need these things, even though some of its competitors they do have it. Now let's have a look at the business end of the car, which is the engine. So in this facelifted model, there has become a change in the engine. So we've lost the 1.3 liter, and what we're left with is a 1.0, either petrol or petrol LPG, and hybrid 140. So we have this classic petrol engine with 90 horsepower, 170 newton meters of torque. And because it's a Renault Clio and not a Dacia, they even put a sports mode to it, so it's pushing as most as it can from this 90 horsepower. Yeah, but anyway, the car is about driving, so let's talk about driving. Let's take it further down the road and let's drive the car. Oh, okay, so hello and welcome in the interior of the brand new facelifted Renault Clio. And it's a very well-known place for sure. I mean, in terms of its looks, it didn't really change that much in the interior. It's still a very good interior in terms of layout, in terms of driver's layout, because you have everything by your hand. It feels very compact, really more compact than in some other competitors like Skoda Fabia. It feels really kind of small and compact, and if you would be a huge, big, fat man, you probably wouldn't fit inside here. It would be really tough. It feels really compact. But in terms of layout, it's just great. You sit inside, first thing immediately you turn off the start and stop system. You have the heated seat next to it. You adjust the climate control with these knobs. Everything is very clear here. You have a separate space for the key fob here. You have two cup holders down here and a rather small armrest here, which you can also slide. It's a good thing, but it's rather small because there is not much space in terms of width here. And then on the left side you immediately can, on a few touches, you can either turn on or turn off the lane assist function, which is just great. Let me just turn it off now. deactivated, yes. And also you have a heated steering wheel which turns on there. So that's really great. In terms of display, there is this vertical screen ahead of me which stayed the same. It's a great screen. I mean, and the interface is really great. You have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is great. You have the Google services as it is in most Renaults. That's a great thing. So really a great responsive system. I really do love working with it. And then also another very good driver's thing is that you have this multi-sense button here underneath the screen, and with this button you can change driving mode. So you don't have to just press it and then change it on the screen itself, but the more you press it, with the press you change the driving mode. So you have 3 driving modes to choose from. You have Eco, you have Sport, and you have My Sense modes, where you can set it up as you wish. There isn't actually that much you can set up. So you can set up the instrument cluster ahead of you, and you can set up the steering, but other things you cannot set up. If you want to have the engine in the sports mode, which doesn't really make much sense, to be honest, it probably boosts the turbo a little bit, so it has a slightly better response. But in the sports mode you have everything in sport. You have the instrument cluster in sport, the steering in sport. It's quite a little bit heavier, but it's not a big difference. And also the engine, as I said. So this is a great thing, that you can actually turn it off by the button, unlike in other cars where you have to press the button but then change it on the screen itself. In terms of build quality, well, it's a Renault Clio of this generation, so it's really well put together. It has to be said. The materials are nice to touch, soft touch materials. They changed this textile surrounding you, so now it's this grayish with this texture. It feels slightly like a Dacia one, but it's nice and cozy. It feels good. The seats, they are they have quite a good support. Of course, could be a little bit better, but overall it's pretty good, and they are also pretty comfortable. Kind of not too soft, but not too hard on your back. So yeah, that's good. And they are of course manually adjustable. You don't want an electrically adjustable seat in a car like this. Yeah, I think that would be it to the interior. Let's go for a drive. So probably the main change in between the pre-facelift and this facelift, apart from the design of the exterior, is that they changed the engines. So we lose the best engine that was available to the car, the 1.3 liter with 140 horsepower, the manual gearbox, and what we're left with is one petrol engine. It's a 1.0 TCE, which you can have with or without LPG. So without the what is it called in English, I don't know. So yeah, and then you have the hybrid, the 140 horsepower hybrid with multi-mode gearbox. So only these two, and I think it's a little bit of a shame, because the 1.3 was really suited to this car extremely well, because the Clio was always about having fun, and it always felt kind of sporty and fun to drive as a small hatch, and losing this engine is yeah, I think it's quite sad. But yeah, even this 1 liter, it has 90 horsepower. Yeah, it's quite doable. It has enough ground in most cases, but you have this 3-cylinder characteristic, so in the low RPM it is quite unbalanced, and yeah, sometimes you just wish to have more power so that you could have more fun, because in terms of suspension this is a really well sorted car. The damping is fantastic. It just feels a stiff and together this car, and it also feels very lightweight, and that's also because it only weighs 1100 kilos, so it feels very lightweight, that you have a light thing in your hands that you can manipulate very easily and throw into the corners. So yeah, the damping and the suspension setup is really good on the stiffer side. So maybe some people would say it isn't the most comfortable, which you also don't want, but in the past the Clios were also quite comfortable. But in terms of softness, if you throw it into the corner, there is a slight roll, but very slight. You almost don't notice it, but there is. Yeah, but the damping and the balance of the car is just great, it has to be said. Let's try and take this out. Wow, and you are just surprised with the amount of grip that you have, even though you have a short wheelbase in a small car like this, but the grip is really good. So yeah, now let's see the engine. Yeah, so the 90 horsepower is not that much of a power, and if you really, you know, want it to push, you know that you are lacking the power in the car. So yeah, but on the other side, it is very good with fuel consumption. You can do in the city 6.5 liter, and on the B roads or combined fuel consumption can be down to 5.2, 5.3 liter per 100 kilometers, which is really great, you know, that you can make all of this distance with a small car. Yeah, and also the fuel tank isn't too small, so the range is really good, around almost above 700 kilometers, so it's really great. And also thanks to the 6-speed gearbox, it's very doable on the motorways as well. It does 3000 rpm, somewhere around 140, I think 145 kilometers per hour. So the gearbox is nice. It's short geared, but then the last two gears they have longer gear ratios. In terms of the shift knob itself, yeah, well, it's the current Renault shift knob, which you also find in the Dacia. And although it's not the best in terms of it's not the most mechanical, it feels a little bit rubbery, and also the throws aren't the shortest, but it has this lightness in the change that you always had with the Renault. So you can be crazy and you can just change gears, you know, very fast, and also the clutch is very light. So you have this fun element to changing the gears, so you can just manipulate it very quickly and very easy. So it's just really a lot of fun to drive it. So I actually love this gearbox, and it's also great in the Dacia cars. So yeah, maybe let's now review the car. So I would start with the likes. So the likes are definitely the chassis, the suspension setup is really fun. It's really good to drive. It's not uncomfortable in any way, although it is a stiff car. You know, it has this sort of stiffness that I would say like a BMW. If BMW made a city car, which they actually do, the Mini, it's almost like this. It's really stiff. You feel it, and it's fun. It's fun in the driving. So I like this part a lot about the Clio. And then of course there is the looks. I think the Clio and also other French cars, French city cars, they just look the money. They look that the money you pay for them is actually worth it. They feel quite luxurious from the outside, and also from the inside it's very well put together, I have to say. So definitely that is a good thing. Also the good thing is the boot, which for the car of this size, 390 liters, is really quite big and quite spacious. So that's another good part of the car. And then there is this fun element of the gearbox, which is really fun to do. So yeah, I kind of like this. And also that you can very easily turn off all the annoying assistants that you otherwise don't like. And then maybe let's talk a little bit about the negatives. The first one and the main one is definitely the lack of the powerful engine of the 1.3. It was a really great engine. At first, when the Clio came out, it was connected to the dual clutch 7-speed gearbox. Towards the end of the life of the pre-facelift model. It had a manual gearbox, this gearbox, 6-speed manual. So it was a really great engine, and I think losing this is making the car slightly worse, to be quite honest with you. And now you buy this car in its top spec for 20,000 with this engine, and before you could have, I think, with the 1.3 for 23,000. So it wasn't much of a difference, but it was a huge difference in terms of engine department. You had a powerful engine. So yeah, then maybe another slight negative compared to some of its competitors, the rear legroom isn't really that good, and also the practicality. You don't have any connectors for charging your device here in the back. You don't even have ventilation here on this central panel for the back passengers. So that's a slight negative. That's a slight negative of the car. Yeah, but and also what I notice now in the winter is even when I use air conditioning, the car just somehow fogs up very quickly. And in order to undo that, you have to put the ventilation on the higher level, but then you hear the blower a little bit, which me, just subjectively, me personally, I like the blower to be very quiet. That's why I like to keep it on the lowest setting. But when I keep it here on the lower setting, then it just fogs up like this, so I have to turn it up a little. Yeah, but all around, you know, I just love the Clio because it's a great car. It's a great city car. It looks great. It always is absolutely amazing fun to drive. Oh, and I forgot almost another slight disappointment. You don't have a proper handbrake here. You have only this electronic one, which is okay maybe for people who don't care about fun driving, but I drove a few Clios and I know you really need a handbrake to have a great fun, because you then do the handbrake turns and stuff. So I would either advise you to buy a lower spec to have a proper handbrake. I don't know if they do have it, but I hope they do, because you need a proper handbrake in a small city car. You just need it for fun. So yeah, but the Clio, great car, absolutely lovely to drive. It's a great looking car. And well, even though the cars today, they cost more, so it costs you what in the past the sports version would cost you, but it's still just so much fun to drive and also very comfortable. Oh, and I didn't tell you about the quietness. So it's around under 60 decibels on the motorway, so pretty good. So yeah, Clio, great car, I love it. And that would be it to this car, and I'll see you guys in the very next video. So keep watching, keep subscribing, because more videos are coming on very soon. In the meantime, goodbye.